Hi, everybody. This is Sue Dalton. I'm Vice President of Sales Services for Love & Company, and we want to welcome you to this webinar today. We're going to be talking about choosing the right CRM, or Customer Relationship Management Program. Just a little bit of background about me. I've been in senior housing for a little over 17 years. And for many of those years, I served as the Director of Sales and Marketing at the Loomis communities in Massachusetts. So I have hands-on experience working in sales offices. I know what it's like to sit in that chair and be on the phone and have to enter all that data into a CRM. And I know how much time that can take and the importance of being the most productive you can be while doing that. Now at Love & Company, I have the pleasure of working with sales offices and different CRMs across the country as we work with our clients. And I'm joined today by Tom Mann.
Thanks, Sue. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Mann. I am one of the principals here at Love & Company, and I head up the integrated marketing services for our team, which is just a fancy way of saying I work with the digital team, media, print, and the content marketing team. So really everything digital. And then prior to Love & Company, I worked for 15 years. I headed up the advertising for one of the nation's largest senior living providers. So with that, Sue, why don't you take us away?
Sure. Thanks, Tom. So we're here today to talk about CRMs. And for those of you who are in our listening and viewing audience, if you've been in the business for a long time, you might actually remember that the early CRM was a group of index cards stored alphabetically in a box, and that basically held information of name, address, phone number, and maybe some notes about the prospect. And then we went to a more electronic approach where we were using software programs, but really to just record that same information with a little bit more information about the activities. And then we've gone from that to really utilizing that information that's in that CRM to make decisions. So we've used the CRM to develop metrics and to measure the effectiveness of everything that we're doing in the sales office, whether that's sales productivity of the team or the effectiveness of our marketing tactics. So what we're going to be doing today is just helping you to understand kind of what the features and functions are of the products that are available today. We are not doing a review of specific products. So if that's what you came to hear today, sorry, that's not our role. Instead, we're just going to help you with the evaluation process and thinking about what you might want to see in a new CRM according to your budget, according to what's important to you now, and what your plans are for the future. And what we're going to help you do is to try to simplify what can be a complex decision. So one of the things that we want to do today is periodically poll our audience, and but just by asking you a couple of simple questions. We're going to start, and I don't know if any of you have done this before, but we're going to start with just a fun poll so that you get the idea of taking the poll and answering the question. And so we're going to launch our first poll now. Tom is our poll launcher, so he's taking care of this for us. So as you can see, this question is about your favorite flavor of ice cream. So if you would just answer accordingly, tell us what your favorite flavor is. And we're seeing your votes coming in. We're seeing that over 80% of you have voted. Some of you are holding back. No reason to hold back. It's just a question about ice cream. Okay. Now let's take a look at the results of that poll.
Wow. Unbelievable. Chocolate pulled out way in the lead. And salted vanilla. Here we go. Salted caramel. I can't believe how underperforming salted caramel was, Sue.
Me neither, Tom. But then there's that other category, which is tied with chocolate. Okay, good job, everybody. So that was your sample poll. Now we're going to take a real poll. So now we're going to launch our second poll, which is information that we really are interested in hearing from you. And so Tom's going to go ahead and launch that second poll. And as you can see, we want to know if you are planning to implement a new CRM in your community in the next year. So easy question, just a yes or no. And it looks like we have all of your responses. So Tom, can you show us those results? Okay, not too surprising since you're sitting through a webinar talking about evaluating CRMs, that you're almost all of you are planning on implementing a new CRM. So congratulations, you've come to the right place. And we're going to hopefully help you through that process. So our plan for today is, first of all, to talk about traditionally what CRM choices have been and what they did for us. We're going to talk also about the features and functions that are available in some of the products that are in the market today. How do we evaluate various CRMs? Tom's going to go into some detail about marketing integration with marketing automation tools, including a discussion of marketing qualified leads and sales qualified leads. We're going to review lead scoring and how that can be handled by the various products in the market. And we are also going to look at other factors that you may consider. Okay, and so this next slide.
Sue, a little bit of housekeeping.
Oh, my apologies. Just some housekeeping. At the end of the webinar, we are going to be taking your questions and answers. And so we encourage you to use the question area in your control panel to enter your questions, and feel free to do that throughout the presentation today. And then before we close, we'll be answering those questions for you. Thanks, Tom.
And also I should point out that this session is being recorded, and so you will be able to get a audio video of this once we're complete.
Okay, so here are just some of the products that are available to us today in the senior living world. And hopefully, if you've already started your research and you're looking into various solutions, you may recognize many of these names. Again, this is not a review of these products, but we are going to be talking about the features and functions that are available in many of them. But there really is no right recommendation for every community. The answer to which CRM is right for you is really very much an it depends kind of answer, because it depends on your community's needs. Do you have the need to integrate your CRM with your website? Are you doing email automation? Do you want to track your census? How many vacant apartments you have, and what's the square footage of those apartments? Do you need your CRM to connect with electronic health records? Many people are doing that today. And what about billing? Do you have a software program that's running billing right now and you need your CRM to integrate with that? That's something to keep in mind. The reporting that you're doing today, you may want to expand on that. And so the reporting capability of the CRM may be very important to you, not only for what reports your sales team sees, but the reports that your sales director needs, and maybe even your chief operating officer or CEO. They might have specific reports and metrics that they would want to see from the CRM. And these are just some of the few questions that you'll need to think about and find the answer to in order to develop the right solution. So as I mentioned, CRMs have evolved quite a bit over the years. The traditional uses that we had for these software programs in our sales offices were really just to record standard demographic information about our prospects: name, address, phone number, and then we added email address several years ago. And that was really the basis of the information that we are collecting. Of course, now it's gotten more complex. And measuring sales productivity, of course, has been a key feature that we like to see in our CRMs. And what you're seeing here is just an example of a dashboard that one of the CRMs on the previous slide is able to produce for users. And most CRMs are able to do this. They're all able to provide some type of informational dashboard to users so that you can get a quick glance at whatever's important to you. And what you're seeing displayed on this dashboard may not be what's important to you. You may not be as interested in new prospects each week as you are in your current occupancy rate or the conversion ratio of appointments to deposits. But usually for these products, changing the look of the dashboard is fairly simple. Other things that are traditionally done in CRMs and continue to be done are, of course, scheduling and tracking the activities of the sales team. Some of that has been automated in some of the products that you may be looking at, but much of it is still being done manually by the sales team. If any of you are familiar with regularly running a report in the CRM that you're using now that shows missing activities, meaning active leads who have no follow-up activity, you may know that it has been pretty difficult to pull that report. It's not always easy. But nowadays, with the new CRMs that are out there, the overdue activities and the leads that do not have follow-up activities are often presented on the homepage to the sales team. So there's no missing what they didn't get done yesterday and also what they may have forgotten to do in terms of scheduling a follow-up activity. Beyond these basic functions provided by today's CRMs, there's also a host of other features that you should consider when evaluating various products. So we'll take a look at some of those. Now, we have been assisting a number of our clients through the evaluation process. And when we do that, we use a matrix, very similar to what you're looking at now, to score products based on the needs and goals of the clients. And if you're interested in seeing this evaluation spreadsheet that we have put together, we're happy to share it with you. And our contact information is available on the last slide of the webinar today. And so please feel free to reach out to me and be happy to share this evaluation matrix with you. Now, for some criteria and some of the products that are out there, they may have a very easy and robust lead source analysis, for example, which is very important to us here at Love & Company because we're always looking to measure our marketing tactics. But for others, the only effective way to do this is by running a variety of different reports. We assist our clients in entering new lead sources for every tactic in the marketing plan that we put together for them. And we also train sales teams how to get that information. So it may not be as simple as how did you hear about our community when talking to them on the phone, but we also train our sales teams how to drill down when the answer they get is not as complete as it should be to give us the information we need about lead sources. Other aspects of the new CRMs that are out there might include things like the prospect's distance from the community. And this is critically important many times because a community may be very aware that, for example, 80% of their residents are coming from a distance that's within a 10-mile radius of the community. So knowing which of their prospects are within that 10-mile radius would be very important to them. And some of the products that are out there today have geolocation built into the system so that once the home address is entered, the distance to the community is automatically calculated. And that's a really nice feature to have if that's important to you. For some communities, the CRM support of Outlook is among their highest priorities because the sales team sends high-quality emails that result in appointments. Gone are the days of having to copy and paste email text into a prospect record, and I'm sure all of you, if you have worked with a CRM, can relate to that because we've been doing that up until very recently, and for many of us, we're still doing that. But different products provide this functionality, the Outlook support or email support, in different ways. So if it's important to you, be sure to ask about it and ask exactly how it works. The newest and still evolving features of senior living CRMs involve integration with marketing automation tools. And Tom is going to give us some insight on how marketing automation has changed the world of both lead generation and of sales, and how the CRM ties into that. Tom?
Yep, thanks, Sue. And before I switch to that next slide, while we're still on this kind of checklist, a couple things. So obviously, what you're looking at is just one column in an Excel spreadsheet that we've created. To the right of this column are all the different CRMs you would be evaluating. And then we score each of these variables on a scale of, I believe, Sue, it's 1 to 5, right?
1 to 5, that's right.
So, for example, it will become very important to me. One of the questions I'm very interested in because of the marketing automation is it an open source platform? In other words, is there an API or a bridge that I can build between your CRM and your email platform, for example, or your CRM? So obviously that's a key question to ask. And so that's sort of the stuff we're looking for as we go through this evaluation. So most retirement communities are currently treating all the leads the same. And that's, in my opinion, a huge mistake. Digital leads are very different and need to be treated differently. So ask yourself the following question. What is the difference between a marketing qualified lead, or what we call an MQL, and a sales qualified lead, or an SQL? The answer is simply that MQLs are not ready to talk to the sales counselor yet. And by the way, they shouldn't be immediately turned over to the salesperson. When I go online and I request information digitally, what I'm really saying is I'm not ready to speak to a scary salesperson yet. So what they're telling you is I'm window shopping until I'm ready. So MQLs, or marketing qualified leads, need to be nurtured until they are sales qualified leads. Now, marketing and sales really need to work together on this. You know, we're an industry with a long history of being 100 years behind every other industry when it comes to technology. And I can't tell you how common it is when I walk into a sales office and the sales team says, Tom, these digital leads really stink. Now that you guys are here, can you fix that? And what they're really saying, because we've trained salespeople the same way for 100 years, is once a lead, any lead, no matter what the source, comes in the door, pounce on it. So again, we need to get the marketing team and the sales team to work together. And as I was saying, to do that, we have to treat digital leads differently. Another thing is, you know, keep in mind, sales counselors, their managers are looking at their closing ratios. And so that's another reason why they might not like digital leads. How can I convert a lead that I don't have a phone number for? You know, often I hear conversations like the manager saying, Susie, why haven't you closed these leads yet? And Susie says, well, because there's no phone number. So we have to take care of that. So this simple diagram really is an approach towards digital leads. And so the leads come into the funnel, and what happens is we drip or nurture them until they become sales qualified leads. So leads without phone numbers are MQLs and need to be classified differently in your CRM. That means they need a separate field so that they can be nurtured by the marketing team utilizing a nurture campaign until they're ready to speak to the sales team. Categorizing them differently also allows us to create different reports that give the sales manager an accurate reflection on what's really happening in the sales office. So a drip campaign is all about gaining trust, which is done by providing high quality content. So this is another area where we often find communities falling down when they tell us that digital advertising and digital marketing doesn't work. The truth is, very often they don't have high quality content. And so here's the thing. I'm window shopping. I'm not ready to have a relationship yet with your sales team. You have to earn my trust. Well, you will not gain their trust by simply spewing marketing material back at them. You have to answer very specific questions for them. You have to be of high value to them. So if your content is well produced and has high value for your prospects, then it provides a wonderful inbound inducement for your community's digital marketing efforts. So why are inducements so important? Again, because interesting prospects are willing to give their personal information, namely their name, address, phone number, and email, in exchange for your valuable content. In short, valuable content or inducements create leads. By the way, Love & Company believes so strongly in this concept that we've created a pretty massive library of white papers and videos of high value content where we've actually sent out researchers to really get valuable content. And then, so that content is about the prospect and their question and almost nothing about your community. Yes, we brand it for your community, but it's all about them. So remember, it's all about them. You know, there's a reason why most communities don't do that, by the way. It's very expensive to produce high quality content. So that's in fact why we share that content across the Love client family, because it just makes it that much more affordable. And so, by the way, if you're part of a large multi-site, that is certainly an approach you can take, or you can find other sources of information. But again, think about it from the prospect's eyes. So I'm going to show you a short video, and it's running already, so I'm going to pause it, hopefully. I'm going to show you a short video that explains Love & Company's approach to digital marketing. So,
The volume on the video.
all right, and bear with us a second. And I'm going to pull us back to the start, and hopefully this works. Bear with me. Here we go. And the volume should start in a second.
This is Mrs. Jones. She lives alone and recently had a fall, which now has her considering the need to move. She's not really sure what she needs, so she Googles retirement community. Because you have optimized your site's keyword search terms and geo-targeting, you have a good site architecture, and your site is served up as a text ad, it shows up in the top of Mrs. Jones' search. Your site has also been designed to be responsive. It's quick to load, views well on any type of device, and in the 0.03 seconds in which Mrs. Jones forms an opinion about your community, it's a positive one. The amount of text and the number of pages isn't overwhelming and are organized thoughtfully, making it easy for her to navigate. Because your design is clean and your content is valuable, she lingers on your site. Armed with some great information, but only being at the beginning of her search, Mrs. Jones returns to Google and then jumps to Facebook to see what her family is up to. Because your site uses cookies, Facebook remarkets to her, both with text, image, and video ads. Mrs. Jones is also served up Google remarketing ads, reminding her of the wonderful benefits of your community every time she goes to Google. Over time, reminded of your community, even amid the rest of her internet searches, she clicks on one of your ads. She is taken to a squeeze page, also known as a landing page. Clean and responsive, it offers her the chance to download your brochure. The form is easy to fill out, and while she's exchanging her contact information for your brochure, she is also presented with the chance to sign up for your e-newsletter. In addition, she has an opportunity to watch one of your videos. Instantly, she receives her brochure, along with an invitation to sign up for a tour or an event. Armed with more information, but not necessarily ready yet to actually speak to a sales counselor, Mrs. Jones reads over the digital information provided to her. She is confident, but values being able to do her research in her own time. A few days after she filled out your form, a drip campaign, also known as an automated email series, begins to be delivered to her inbox. This email series is carefully written and ordered, providing more insights and information, and also encouraging event or tour signups. Feeling comfortable and confident, thanks to her research, Mrs. Jones decides to sign up for a tour. She fills out the RSVP form, providing her phone number, which she may not have done before, receives an email confirmation, as well as a phone call from the sales counselor. And because the sales counselor is able to view Mrs. Jones' online behavior, she is able to ask intelligent questions to better understand her specific interests. In addition, Mrs. Jones' online behavior is now contributing to her lead score in your community's database. Once on site, Mrs. Jones enjoys a wonderful luncheon, tours your stunning community, and meets your friendly staff and residents. After her event, the sales counselor sends her an e-survey asking how they did, as well as asking for comments to improve in the future. In addition to helping improve future events, the survey allows your team to further engage with Mrs. Jones. During this period, Mrs. Jones has also received timely direct mailers, many of which help drive her to additional pages on the website or squeeze pages, all designed to have her take further action. Mrs. Jones, still getting automated emails as well as an e-newsletter and being served up remarketing, occasionally visits the website again and is encouraged to do so when she notices that the content is kept fresh, news and blog posts are regularly posted, events are always upcoming, and there's a vibrant and active community on social media. Impressed by the educational approach, the continuing level of attentiveness, and the quality content, she shares the community with her friends and adult children who are curious about her plans. The website works beautifully on their devices, regardless of what digital device they are using. The content and design are clean and clear. The same is true of your social media sites. Having gone through the nurturing steps, Mrs. Jones decides she's found her new home and puts down a deposit. She receives an email several days after this, triggered by her sales counselor, welcoming her to the family.
So hopefully that gives you an idea of how we think about digital marketing. And by the way, this approach works for independent living and for healthcare. So obviously your website is the cornerstone of your digital marketing program, because the vast majority of your prospects are going to visit your website at some point. And so just for an example, this is a website we just recently completed for John Knox Village in Pompano. And one of our longtime clients, we just redid they just redid their brand and entered into a major, we're doing a major repositioning and master planning project with them. But one thing you'll notice about their website is on every page offers an inducement opportunity or an opportunity for feedback. And obviously, it's super important that you're tracking your prospects' behavior on your website. So again, you want to make sure that your website is talking to your CRM. So another reason your CRM is so important is that to run a successful marketing automation program, you need to build and track your prospects' history. What you're seeing here, by the way, is an example of, and I don't expect any of you to be able to read this, by the way. This is a pay-per-click and squeeze page mapping strategy. And we also have these for automated email, by the way, but it's really, simply put, it's a decision tree. So if Mrs. Smith does X, then she gets Y. If she does L, then she might receive M. So you really need to, on top of all the automation that we're talking about here, you need to start with a clear thought strategy of what the delivery system is and what information you want Mrs. Jones to get at what point in her journey from an MQL to an SQL. So again, that automation and tracking, you're starting to see how it all works together and why it's so important that all of your tools work together. So again, going back to that earlier checklist that Sue was showing you, obviously one thing you want to make sure is whatever CRM you choose, and by the way, we're CRM agnostic here at Love & Company. We've worked with them all. And as Sue was saying, there is no right decision, but no right recommendation. It's a right decision for your community depending on what you want to do. So again, the decision tree, what we're talking about, and tracking the prospect's behavior is what makes it, these contribute to Mrs. Jones's lead score. So Sue's going to talk more about lead scores in a second.
Thanks, Tom. So many of you may be familiar with lead scoring. You might be implementing this today, utilizing your current CRM. But for those of you who lead scoring might be a new concept, I'll just take a few minutes and explain to you what it means and how it works. So lead scoring is literally, just as the graphic depicts, a way of assigning a certain number of points to every lead in your lead base. And these points are designated based on either the demographic information for that particular lead or by their behavior. And by behavior, we mean, how many times they may have called into the community, how many times they've come to a marketing event, how many times they have, and this happens in our ideal world, how many times they clicked through a broadcast email that came from an email drip campaign and clicked through to the website. And in our ideal world, as Tom mentioned, that information is then automatically sent back to the CRM. This doesn't always happen. Not all CRMs are able to do this, but again, that's what we love to see. And so leads generate a score, and that score can change on a daily basis depending upon their behavior and the activities that the sales counselor has entered into the CRM. And what we do is we take a look at what a characteristic depositor or resident looks like for a particular community. What are all the things that they have in common? What was the lead source that brought them to the community? What is their age? What is their marital status? What are the things that make a resident or depositor all look the same? And based on those characteristics, we generate an algorithm that provides more points to leads who share those same characteristics as depositors or residents. And just as an example, we have a client in New York who is a blue sky community, so they haven't started building yet, but they are taking deposits. And so we looked very closely at the characteristics that each of these depositors shared, both demographic and behavioral information. And then we built a lead scoring algorithm that mirrored what we were seeing in the depositors. And by doing that, what we're allowing the sales team to do is be more productive, because they can look at those lead scores, look at the people who have the highest lead scores, and focus their attention there, because we know they are more likely to close. And so that's where we want our sales team spending time. And the CRMs can handle lead scoring in a variety of different ways. In the ideal situation, again, that lead scoring is being calculated in the background all of the time with very little interaction from the sales counselor. And that digital behavior that prospect is showing us is automatically being fed to that CRM. This is an example of a dashboard that you're seeing right now from one of the CRMs that would be available to you. And these dashboards, again, can usually be customized to show you whatever you want to see, but this one is particular to lead scoring. And when we're working with sales teams at our clients, what we like to present to them on a daily basis is their top 10 leads with the top highest lead scores. Also, we like them to see the leads with high lead scores who have not been contacted in the last 30 days, because that's telling us these are really good leads and you should be reaching out to them. And so if they have not been contacted in the last 30 days, we want to bring that to the sales counselor's attention so that they can take action. And we also like to present to them the leads who have high lead scores but have status codes that don't necessarily match that. And by status codes, we mean, the usual hot, warm, cold, future, or however you might deal with that in your community. So if we see a lead that has a very high lead score but might have a status code of cold or future, that's a mismatch, and we want to bring that to the attention of the sales team.
And Sue, before you go on, a couple things. One is, most of these CRMs allow you to shape your lead score variables, as Sue was saying. And so not only is it valuable from kind of a macro approach, but say, for example, your community is struggling with studios and one bedrooms. Well, then it would be helpful to look at what are the characteristics of a typical studio or one bedroom and create a lead score that tells the sales counselors, look, here's the prospect that fits this particular unit style. So again, most of these, and there's that disclaimer, most of these allow you to shape your lead score variables, and you can target your lead scores to address particular inventory issues.
That's right. Good point, Tom. And you can change those on a regular basis. And so we've seen communities who may be building an expansion. And in that expansion, they're planning only large 2-bedroom homes with significant square footage and a significant price tag to match. And so they might want to change their lead scoring algorithm to give extra points to couples with significant net worth, because those are the people who are more likely to choose and be able to afford what they're building in terms of those large 2 bedrooms. So besides lead scoring and many of the other things that we've already talked about, there are other factors that you should consider when thinking about choosing a new CRM. Customer service, for example, is really important. What do you do if you've got some kind of a problem? Is there an 800 number to call? And if so, is it a human being who answers that phone, or do you get directed just to an auto attendant? Do you enter a support ticket online? Is it easy to do that? And if you do that, how long does it take for the average issue to be resolved by that particular vendor? Do they offer an online chat? Can you just chat with somebody online and tell them that either A, you're having a technical problem, or B, you sure would like to know how to pull this specific report? And is that available?
And Sue, if I could interrupt again, because that service factor is so important. There are some of the CRMs we've looked at that, from a technical point of view, when you look at what they can do, they're the clear winner. But again, as Sue was saying earlier, we have experience working with all these different CRMs, and we have found that some make great promises, but then later on in the service category, they're underperformers. And so those are questions you want to ask. One, us, we're happy to offer. Two, I'd look at the leading age list score to ask those questions. I think asking some of your peers in the industry, but customer service cannot be overlooked. It's so important on CRMs. So.
Yeah, and Tom, just to correct something you said there, I'm not sure you said it, but you said leading age list score, and what he meant to say was the leading age list serve.
Thank you. Yes,
which is a great resource for asking questions and getting them answered by your peers. So, and again, in terms of customer service, it's a good idea to ask for references just as you would when you're dealing with any other type of vendor, and talk to their customers to see if they're satisfied with the support level that they're receiving. If standardized reports that are provided aren't enough for you and you need customized reports, is there an extra charge for that? What other extra charges might there be? One vendor that we're familiar with offers a data append feature. that automatically pulls from a variety of databases to provide information such as net worth, home value, marital status, etc., all good things to know about our prospects. And if this would be useful to you and you think that that would be important to have, then please make sure that you know how much extra that's going to cost you on a monthly basis so that you know whether or not that's going to fit into your budget. Some products allow you to enter your goals for a week, a month, a year, so that results can be easily measured against those goals and progress can be easily tracked. Personally, here at Love & Company, we love a feature like that because we're all about tracking progress and taking a look at where we are and where we want to be. We also love to track re-inquiries for our clients because we want to see not only how new lead generation is going, but we also want to see how many prospects re-inquired after seeing one of our marketing tactics. We track that very carefully. We know it takes several touches to truly engage our prospects, and we want to closely measure that. Some products make it much easier to measure re-inquiries than others. If that's important to you, be sure and ask. If you're using your CRM for higher levels of care, tracking referrals is very, very important. Look for an easy way to enter both the names of your referral sources and the companies that they work for. You've probably had experience with CRMs where that was difficult, so be sure and ask those questions. Not everyone uses their CRM right now to track census. Honestly, I don't understand why. To me, that is one of the great uses of a CRM is to track your census, to move residents in and out using your CRM. Keeping track of people as they occupy apartments and when they move out is the best way to track certain metrics, such as the number of days vacant for each one of your apartments or residences, the number of days from inquiry to move-in by lead source, the length of stay by age, and many, many others are metrics that you can track if you take advantage of the census capability that's within a CRM. And you'll find that this feature is probably available on all the products, but it might be easier to use on some than it is on others. And then, of course, there's price, not to be overlooked. There's monthly fees, there's usually a setup fee, there may be an additional per user fee, and please don't forget your data migration fees. You've got data sitting somewhere, and it's likely going to cost you money to move that data from one CRM to the next. Training is super important. There's sometimes a fee for that, sometimes not. Sometimes there's online training, sometimes there's on-site training, sometimes it's just off-site training that's provided via video conference. But I would urge you, as a sales coach and trainer myself, don't scrimp on the training. If the vendor offers training on their CRM, please take advantage of that. Make sure you budget for that. There's no point in installing this powerful tool in your sales office if your team doesn't know how to use it. So before we move into the Q&A, we just have one final poll for you. So we're going to launch that last poll and ask you to answer one more group of questions for us.
Okay, it is coming up here. And
okay, so based on what you've heard or what you've been thinking about yourself, which of the following CRM features is most important to you? And if you would just select one, even though you may have several, if you could just select the one that is most important to you.
The votes are rolling in here.
How are we doing, Tom?
And we're up to 77% voted, 82%, and 86. I will.
People are giving this one some thought.
I will close the polls
Okay.
at 90%. Let's see what we got
see
here.
What we have for results. Integration with marketing automation tools. Great to hear. Great that you're thinking about using those automation tools and whether or not that's going to integrate with your CRM.
Yeah, and the customizable reports We've seen a very wide variation of capabilities within that area. So definitely worth, and again, all of these variables are on the spreadsheet that Sue was talking about earlier that we'll be happy to share.
So thank you very much. That concludes our webinar. We do have some questions.
We have a bunch of questions
that have been entered. So
let me see. So first question. Some companies seem to lead with CRM and some with marketing automation. Either better or more important? Great question. Really, I don't think you can or should put one in front of the other. They really need to work together. Now, that's easier said. Usually what I find is that, as technology has evolved, what we see in most cases is that CRMs are on some level, in most instances, are already installed. And then marketing automation, kind of the new advances, all of a sudden people are realizing, oh shoot, my marketing automation platform, my emails, my website should all be talking to the CRM. So historically, what we're seeing is that companies have the CRM in place, and so they're trying very often to solve the problem by what works with our current CRM. In most instances, not all, but in most instances, I would invite you to kind of pull back and really take a more holistic look and say, okay, based on what the new technology is, what's the best solution? And that really leads me to another point about the CRM. One of the things I advise clients is make sure you're not trapped. You don't want, and that's why I tend to place open source platforms very high, because they're less likely to stop being serviced because so many people are working on them. All right, next question. So how do you make content unique if the Love Library is shared with clients? Is unique necessary for high quality? Another great question. One, I don't believe that totally unique is necessary for high quality, although you certainly want some uniqueness within your marketplace. So we are very careful, and this is the benefit of having a rather large library, but we are very careful not to have kind of replication within the same market. Our library is large enough now that we're able to give all of our clients unique. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody in New York isn't using the same content as a community in California. But again, the benefit of kind of the sharing economy, of not having to pay, a video, for example, one video might cost you $35,000 to produce. Well, our clients actually can buy annual or 3-year subscriptions that are, ridiculously affordable because they're sharing the content. And that's, not just with Love & Company. I think there's a lot of good content out there. And so you want to just think about, again, how do we solve the prospect's problem? Next question. So you're using the customer journey analogy in the squeeze page decision tree. Are some CRMs better at the customer journey?
So that is a great question. And yes, in fact, from what we've seen, some CRMs are better at kind of documenting the customer journey. And, if you've taken a close look at what's out there, you know that some CRMs actually take a completely different philosophical approach to the customer journey. And you can see that in the way they track the customer journey. The 2 or 3 that I can think of offhand that take a close look at the customer journey all do a nice job of presenting where that customer is in their journey, kind of on the home page, like on the front of that prospect page. So it's very easy for the sales counselor to see where that prospect is in the journey. So yes, I do think that's important, and yes, that is available to you.
Karen asks, what CRM is on the left of your main screen when you click off the shared screen? It shows C3 Marketing Report. We are intrigued by that.
What CRM is on the left of your main screen?
Are we talking about?
When you click off of the standard screen, it shows C3 Marketing Report. Boy, we're a little stumped by your question.
Karen, we're not sure, but you know what? We will contact you and talk through that just to make sure we answer your question. My apologies.
It may be something that's living on the background on the laptop that we're using, and we're just not seeing something that you are seeing. So we'll take a closer look at that and get back to you.
Love the occupancy tip, continuation of customer journey through departure. So I think what this person's asking is, if you're targeting, say, 1-bedrooms, again, your journey, your nurturing campaign should have content shaped for that journey. So, for example, in our content library, we have a white paper on downsizing. And what's kind of cool about that white paper is it talks about kind of the tiny houses trend that's so popular. And by the way, I'm addicted to watching on, I think it's Home and Garden. So, yeah, we really do try to shape the content by the journey. Sue, I think this one's for you.
Automatic data collection eases the burden on sales staff and improves accuracy of data actually collected, parentheses, more consistency. This seems like a key feature. Absolutely. Anytime that we can take data entry out of the hands of the human being, the better off we're going to be, the more accurate the data will be and more consistent it will be. Agreed completely. Anytime, and that's why when we ask sales teams to rekey something, particularly, for example, there's a CRM that is commonly used right now in the industry, which does not have an integration right now with websites. So when those web leads come in via email, the sales team then has to rekey the name, address, email address, any other information that may have come in through that web submission form. And that is just asking for trouble, right? It's introducing an opportunity for error, and it's also slowing down the whole process. So with today's newer CRMs, that particular burden disappears because they all have the capability of getting those web leads automatically entered into the CRM without any human intervention. So yes, that's a good point. But just to extrapolate on that, we still do require our sales teams to enter the data about the activities, enter the notes, do your discovery, enter that in the notes, find out what's going on with the prospect. None of that can be done automatically. It still has to be done by human beings. And that's why we continue to train and coach our sales teams that really that burden is on them to enter that information so that there is a story being told about every one of those prospects in the database that anybody on the team could pick up and run with.
And that's once they've hit the SQL stage. In the MQL stage, your marketing automation should be populating some information about their background. And by the way, the other thing is, we have a saying, if it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen. And so to Sue's point, the sales team really has to enter all their exchanges in the CRM, and that data they're putting in should impact their lead score. Gone are the days, or they're getting ready to disappear, where you have, hot, warm, cool, cold. Lead scores are much more subjective than that. Couple of other questions. For the adaptation of new system by salesperson other than training, how do you suggest we succeed with change management?
Okay, that's a good question. So you're really asking, okay, besides providing training for the new CRM, how can we help our sales teams accept this change? Because, you know, our sales teams are very accustomed to the CRM that they're working with today. And moving to a new one is going to require a lot of change. The screens are going to look different. There may even be different terminology for different things. Prospect and contact might mean something completely different with the new CRM than it does with the old one. So I would say just continued support. I would suggest that it not be exclusively the sales team who sits through training that is provided by the vendor. It's certainly a great idea to have someone from your IT sit through that training. Of course, everybody on the sales team, including the director of sales and marketing, should sit through the training. And it might be a good idea to have somebody from operations sit through that training as well. The more people who understand the system and its capability, the more that change is going to be more easily accepted. But really, support and patience, I think, with your sales team is going to be key as you go through that transition.
All right, so one, we thank you for all of the questions, and there are a ton more we just didn't get to. My apologies. Certainly, Sue and I will be happy to answer any of your questions personally. Feel free to email us. If you want the Excel evaluation sheet we've been talking about, email Sue, and she will make sure that you get a copy of that. I think you'll find it very useful. It has a lot of the variables that you may not think of. And again, feel free to email either one of us, and we'll be happy to get back to you.
Okay, thanks very much for attending. We appreciate it. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.